Title: The Red Dress and the End of Us. Hey there. If you enjoy raw, emotional stories about love, betrayal, and personal strength, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss an upload. Let's get into this unforgettable story. Just yesterday at work, Samantha strolled up to me with a calmness that unsettled me. Without hesitation, she told me she had plans. A date with someone from her office. A date. My name's Andrew. I'm 32. Samantha, my wife of almost 8 years, is 33. We made the conscious choice to live child-free. And until recently, I truly believed our marriage was steady and fulfilling. But lately, subtle fractures had started to show. A few months back, she opened up to me, saying she felt confined, like life had become a stale routine. Out of nowhere, she suggested having a child, not out of longing for parenthood, but as a way to spark some excitement. It had never been part of our shared vision, but I was willing to explore it if it helped her feel more alive. That discussion didn't last long. After only a few talks, she dismissed the idea as a passing whim. I chalked it up to temporary dissatisfaction. I didn't realize it was just the beginning of something far more destructive. Then came yesterday, the moment that shattered everything. She said it so casually. She had a date. At first, I chuckled, thinking she was joking. But the seriousness in her eyes killed my laughter. "Wait, you're serious?" I asked, stunned. She nodded. Apparently, a colleague named Larry had been feeling the same dullness she was, and together, they decided to shake things up. She emphasized that it was just dinner, just a simple evening. She spoke about it like it was completely normal, nothing to question. Still reeling, I asked, "Then why call it a date?" The frustration in my voice was impossible to hide. She told me she wanted to be honest. "Transparent," she said. That word, transparent, hit me like a slap. Before I could even collect a response, she kissed me on the forehead in a strangely detached way and left the room to get ready. I sat there in silence as she slipped into that red dress, the one that always made her feel empowered. A wave of dread and helplessness washed over me. I couldn't believe what was happening. My entire life felt like it was slipping through my fingers. Desperate for an outlet, I called Alexander, my best friend, and asked if he could meet me for drinks. I couldn't bring myself to tell him the truth, so I pretended it was about a friend going through something similar. Alexander tried to ease my worry, suggesting it might really just be a harmless dinner. But I knew better. This wasn't innocent. It was the unraveling of everything I had built with Samantha. She returned earlier than I expected, around 9:30. Her lipstick was a little smeared, her smile forced, and her energy off, like something had shifted in her. "It was exhilarating, Andrew," she whispered, embracing me with way too much enthusiasm. Exactly what I needed. As if that was enough, she nonchalantly mentioned a weekend getaway with Larry. I was crushed. My voice left me. That night, I couldn't bring myself to sleep beside her. I lay on the couch, wide awake, drowning in the betrayal. By morning, clarity had arrived. Our marriage was beyond saving. But I wasn't going to beg or fight. I decided she would feel this, really feel it. While Samantha busied herself planning her little romantic trip, I made plans of my own. That Friday, I quietly began my preparations. On Saturday, I hired a locksmith to change every lock in the house. I gathered all her belongings, packed them in black trash bags, and stacked them neatly in the garage. That evening, while she joyfully packed for a getaway, I secretly recorded her speaking about the trip, proof of the divorce I now saw as inevitable. Before bed, she leaned in and kissed my cheek. "I love you, Andrew," she said. "You'll see. This will fix everything." She had no idea what was coming. Saturday morning, she left with no hesitation. I watched from the window as Larry pulled into the driveway, wearing that same red dress. She stepped out, blew me a kiss, and got into his car. I didn't move until they disappeared. By noon, the locksmith had finished. With a twist of the key, I severed her access to the home and to my life. I even took her name off the mailbox. Then I waited. That evening, I sat alone in the quiet, every corner of the house echoing my solitude. Samantha came back Sunday night. She was a mess, hair disheveled, eyes red, the red dress wrinkled and limp. She fumbled with her keys, only to realize they no longer worked. Panic set in. She banged on the door, yelling my name. I watched from the security monitor, her desperation painted in every frantic motion. Finally, I opened the door. "What is this, Andrew? Why are you doing this?" she cried, tears streaking down her face. She tried to push past me, but I blocked her. "You wanted excitement, Samantha," I said, my voice cold and even. "Now you've got it." She broke down. "This isn't what I meant," she sobbed, trembling in the cold night air. I pulled out my phone and played back the recording, the one where she gushed about her thrilling weekend with Larry. Her face turned pale as the reality hit her. "You destroyed us," I said. "Now you have to live with that." She tried to explain, threw out excuses, blamed Larry, insisted it wasn't what it looked like. But none of it mattered anymore. She made her choice, and now she had to carry the weight of it. I didn't argue. I simply pointed to the garage. "Your things are in there. Take them and go." She begged again, sobbing. I didn't flinch. "You wanted excitement?" I said, slamming the door in her face. "Go find it alone." She stayed out there for a while, maybe hoping I'd cave. I didn't. The damage was done, and the divorce papers would be delivered soon. There was no version of this story where she returned. In the quiet that followed, I felt like a survivor, sifting through the debris of everything we once were. I wasted no time. The divorce petition was filed quickly, and I made sure the documents were sent to her parents' address. She no longer had a permanent residence. Word got back to me that she was staying with Julia, one of her longtime friends. Probably someone who didn't yet know the full extent of Samantha's betrayal. But even after she left, she didn't fade away quietly. My phone was flooded with messages, missed calls, and voice recordings filled with pleading. Her mother even reached out in tears, urging me to give Samantha another chance. But it was too late. Every time her name lit up my phone, it pulled me back into memory of her carefree laugh as she packed her bags for that disastrous weekend with Larry. Her indifference to my pain haunted me. And as I expected, things escalated. One Wednesday, while reviewing reports of the office, I heard a familiar voice, frantic and emotional, speaking to the receptionist. I stepped out, and there she was, disheveled, clutching the divorce papers in one hand, her face swollen from crying. "What are you doing here, Samantha?" I asked flatly, guiding her to a nearby conference room, away from the watching eyes of my co-workers. She handed me the untouched paperwork with shaking hands. "I can't do this, Andrew. I still love you. We can fix this. Please." I stared at her, at the broken shell of the woman I once thought I'd grow old with. The confident, thrill-seeking spark in her eyes was gone, replaced with sheer panic. "There's nothing left to fix," I said. "You made your decisions. Now live with them." She dissolved into tears, mumbling about how it was all a mistake. She admitted she had been chasing excitement and found only emptiness. "You were always the one I loved," she whispered, eyes pleading. Her words triggered something sharp in my chest, but not sympathy. It was rage. "You thought you could flirt with destruction and just walk away clean," I replied coldly. "You can't erase what you did." She reached for my arm, but I pulled away. I've already said all I needed to say. I told her, and then I walked out, leaving her behind. The silence that followed her visit was heavy at first, but strangely freeing. For a while, she stopped contacting me. Through mutual friends, I heard she had started going to therapy. It was a step in the right direction, for her, but that didn't change what she had done. I wasn't ready to let it go that easily. I gathered everything. Text screenshots, hotel bookings, dates, every detail of her choices, and mailed the packet to her parents. Attached was a note that simply read, "This is why I can't come back. This is why it's truly over." The next day, my phone buzzed with voicemail. Her voice was soft, barely steady between the tremors in her breath. "I got your letter," she said. "I finally understand now. I see how deeply I hurt you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know I get it now." And strangely, her admission brought a sliver of relief. For once, there were no excuses. just accountability. A few weeks later, the divorce was finalized. She signed the papers and moved back into her parents' home. I stayed in the house we once shared, slowly transforming it into something that belonged to me alone. Room by room, I erased her presence. And with every shelf I reclaimed, every picture I took down, I felt lighter. The quiet that once felt suffocating began to feel like peace. For the first time in years, I focused on myself. I embraced a strict fitness routine, rediscovered my love for hiking, and even picked up painting again, something I had long abandoned. Through all of it, Alexander was there, my constant support. He reminded me who I was when I doubted myself and pulled me forward when I was tempted to fall back. And somewhere in that season of growth, I started to remember who I used to be before the pain. That's when Samantha tried reaching out again. This time, it was a handwritten letter filled with remorse, updates on her recovery, and reflections on her past mistakes. She hoped we could reconnect in time. I didn't reply. Her understanding of what she had done was enough. Her journey was hers to walk, and it no longer had anything to do with mine. As the weeks turned to months, the weather changed, and so did I. The man I had become was no longer the same broken person who once stood silent while watching his wife leave dressed for someone else. I had evolved, stronger, wiser, and fully awake. One simple truth had finally become clear. Even in your darkest moments, the light is never too far, if you're willing to chase it. Then, during one of my weekend hikes with Alexander, we crossed paths with a group on the trail. Among them was Emily. She had an easy grace and a warmth in her smile that eased a tension in me I didn't even realize I was still holding. She joined us on that hike. And somewhere between the conversation and laughter, something shifted. I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in years. Eventually, I asked her out for coffee. What followed wasn't some storybook romance, but it was real, grounded, and kind. In Emily's presence, I discovered a deeper understanding of love. It doesn't demand grand gestures or dramatic declarations. Real love shows up daily, in honesty and patience, and in unwavering respect. So now, this chapter of Andrew's life closes. Samantha chose her road and paid the price. Andrew chose healing and reclaimed his power. Will Emily become his forever? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain. No matter how hard you fall, there is always a way to rise again.